many more people will watch this garbage Ariana Grande video. Grande video. God is a woman. And first, before we even play the video, I want to show you how immature Ariana Grande is as a person. Not just because she actually went to a donut shop in Lake Elsinore, California a couple years ago, licked one of the donuts behind the display case and put it back, which is just gross. But because she's a puerile child. Okay, she's not a child, she's a woman. She's a woman, but she acts like a child. So here's what she tweeted out. Somebody tweeted at her, God is a woman tonight. So her new song is called God is a Woman. We'll analyze just how stupid this nonsense is in a second. It says, God is a woman tonight. What's your favorite word? And she tweets back, P-U-S-S-Y. She tweets back the curse word for the vulgarity that President Trump famously used with regard to female genitalia. If that's your favorite word, I would suggest that you are an 11-year-old. Like really, if your favorite word is a curse word for a genital, then you are a small child who's obsessed and in an arrested stage of development. It's like how my 2-year-old's favorite word right now is poop, because he's 2. Okay, Ariana Grande's favorite, if your favorite word describes your genitals, and it's not just genitals, it's your genitals, then I would suggest that you need some meaning in your life. And that's not all she tweeted. She then tweeted, P word is a privilege. I-S-S-A. P word is a privilege, not is a. P word is a privilege. So somebody notify Daryl Issa, whose name is spelled exactly the same way, the House chairman on government oversight. Yeah, let him know, the congressman from California, because apparently P word Issa privilege, which is very exciting. Okay, so she put out, she did all of this in advance of a new song that she has put out called God is a Woman. Now, God isn't a woman. God isn't a man. God isn't a person. Right? God is an eternal being who exists beyond space and time. This has been true for every deist who has ever lived. Anyone who believes in a one God, any theist believes that God is not a man, God is not a woman, God is an eternal being who exists beyond space and time and who designed the universe in which we live and is the force holding up that universe, right? That is the basic idea of God. But because we are now pagan, and we have entered a pagan period in which everything can be devolved down to your genitals and how much pleasure they give you, God is apparently a woman. So here is Ariana Grande singing, God is a woman. And she is, of course, hijacking all the great elements of Western civilization in order to do this. So you'll see at the very end that there's a picture from the Sistine Chapel in which she has substituted herself for God reaching out to Adam in the Sistine Chapel, because this is what we do now. Right? What we do is we take great works of art, we take the history of Western civilization, and then we destroy it on the shoals of our own hedonism. So we have Beyonce and Jay-Z talking about ape crap in the Louvre in front of some of the great sculptures ever created. And then we have Ariana Grande hijacking the Sistine Chapel to talk about her vagina, which is just lovely. I mean, it really spells, I think, it's a good descriptor of where we've gone with our civilization. Perhaps when she realizes this doesn't actually generate any sort of meaning in your life, that your genitals don't give you meaning, and that anybody who lives by their genitals will also likely die by their genitals from an STD, then perhaps we'll get a society that cares about meaning again. But here is Ariana Grande making the case for why God is a woman, which does, by the way, if God is a woman, why osteoporosis? Yeah, just wondering. So here's Ariana Grande warbling God is a woman. Okay, so for those who can't see, she's naked in paint, and then here she is on a bed with like 73 other people, because this is what God is, right? God is a woman having sex with lots of people. Now, my favorite part of this is that Ariana Grande says sex is amazing because sex gives life. Right, but she's pro-abortion, so I'm wondering how that works. And then there's in this video a bunch of fat white guys who are yelling at her. So I guess that she will eventually use this video of me talking about her to suggest that I don't appreciate that God is a woman. You're right, I don't appreciate God as a woman because that's the stupidest garbage I ever heard in my life. God isn't a woman, God isn't a man, and God certainly is not Ariana Grande, an idiotic 22-year-old who can't warble more than an octave. That's just ridiculous. And boiling down, by the way, spirituality and decency and life-giving and the universe to sex is just, it's such a teenage, stupid point of view. If your life revolves around sex, you have the emptiest life. You have an empty life. Sex is wonderful in the right context. Sex is a glorious thing in the right context. But boiling down all of human enjoyment and meaning in the world to sex makes you an animal. It's not that God is a woman. It's that people are animals. Okay, in her world, this is a better view of what God is in her world, right? These little chipmunks, these ferrets. What is this here? Groundhogs popping out and making weird faces at the camera. Very, very exciting stuff here from Ariana Grande. So what I love is that this thing has already been viewed tens of millions of times, of course, because the reality is nobody's actually going to imbibe the message. Okay, the message is in her clothing, right? The message is in the fact that she's there in body paint. I'm old enough to remember when people used to worship at the altar of people like Ella Fitzgerald. Right? This is the very closing image, is her in the Sistine Chapel, reaching out, surrounded by a bunch of women. Of course, it has to be women of color so that all of the Rolling Stone folks can say that this is a recreation of great art, but in a more diverse way. Very important to do that. It's upsetting that so many young people watch this sort of stuff and think there is some sort of empowerment or meaning in this. If you find empowerment in this, you're a fool. This is the least empowering thing. If you are empowered because you have genitals, guess what? Dogs have genitals too. Okay, virtually every living creature has genitals. It's not empowering to have genitals. It's empowering to use the stuff between your ears. It's empowering to use your reason. It's empowering to live a life that has actual meaning beyond sticking your genitals in particular places. And if God is your genitals, then God, not only does God not exist, you don't exist as a human being. You're just an animal rutting around in the dirt. Okay, so I'm sure she'll use that for her next music video, or if not, then culture, because we're past the clock and time has no meaning. So, Ariana Grande, she has a new song out called "Dangerous Woman." Ariana Grande, we call her the Great Donut Licker of Lake Elsinore because a few months back, if you recall, she went into a coffee shop with donuts and she started licking the donuts and like leaving them on the counter, which is a weird thing to do. She's a weirdo. So Ariana Grande, she has a new music video out called "Dangerous Woman." And we will play a little. First of all, every single music video in the top 40 has a girl looking like she's ready to strip. Right? They're all wearing lingerie. Like, when's the last time you saw a music video in the top 40 that wasn't a woman wearing lingerie? It's been a long time. Right? Second of all, one of the problems I have with Ariana Grande as a personality is that, and this is not meant offensively to Ariana Grande, objectively speaking, Ariana Grande looks like she's about 14 years old. I mean, she looks very, very young. I know she's 23, but she looks like she's about 14 years old. And her typical audience is about 14, 15 years old. And that's, yeah, this kind of stuff tailored for men is kind of distasteful. Her music video, for people who can't see, is her just writhing around on a bed, basically. I mean, it's just her writhing around on a bed in various states of undress and singing about how she wants to have sex. That's the entire song. And there's a line in here that really does trouble me. Later, she says, "All girls want to be like that. Bad girls underneath like that. You know how I'm feeling inside. Something about. All girls want to be like that. Bad girls underneath like that. You know how I'm feeling inside. Something about. Okay, so first of all, bad grammar. But second of all, when she says all girls want to be like that all girls are bad girls underneath, this puts forward a negative image to men. It does. It's saying to young men that all girls in the end want to be risky with regard to their sex lives, right? That's what she's saying. She's saying all girls want to be dangerous, all girls want to be risky with their sex lives, and then people on the feminist left who defend this as some sort of feminist iconic feminist image, right? First of all, if women acted like this every day in real life, men would have no problem with radical feminism. If this is what radical feminism always looked like, I have a feeling that all of the radical men's rights guys would be very, very happy. Okay, but beyond that, this portrayal of women as sort of deeply sexualized all the time, all they really want is to be dangerous underneath, and saying openly that all girls want to be like that, it encourages men to treat women as though they are prepared to be risky in their sex lives. And that's no excuse for men to be terrible. But if you put out into the ether these vague images of all women want to be risky in their sex lives, that doesn't have a good impact. Okay, it doesn't mean it's justified. It just means that things have impact. If I say that all women are promiscuous, that's going to have an impact on how men act toward women. Which is why I don't say all, because women aren't promiscuous. Some women are, some women aren't. But this kind of notion that all women are risk takers is a trope that really is not something that's good to put out to young men. It's amazing. The same people who will decry the rape culture on college campuses will put stuff out like this and say that it's not bad for women in any way. Okay, really? It's not bad for women in any way? You complain about objectification of women, and then these are the women that you prop up as your feminist heroes? People like Ariana Grande and Beyonce Knowles? Really? Okay, that's one message here I want to talk about. The second is the notion of romance. So romance now, there's no such thing as romance anymore. Romance is just sex. That's all it is. It's just sex in these music videos. I want to play for you an actually romantic song back from a time when people actually cared about romance, cared about love, cared about emotion in relationships, and not just the feeling of skin to skin. Because honestly, it's just a mechanical act if there's no emotional connection. You know, there's this notion that sex is transgressive and taboo. It is, of course, depending on the circumstance, but that's not the essence of a normal, healthy sex life. If all you're looking for in your sex life, if all you're looking for in intimacy is violation of taboo, you're going to end up in some pretty dark places pretty quickly, which is how we end up with the 50 Shades of Grey culture. True romance requires there to actually be simpatico between the participants in the sex. Okay, here's another song invoking skin. This is one of my favorite songs of all time. Is Under My Skin with this classic Frank Sinatra 1956 Nelson Riddle arrangement. This is my song from my wife. We have a couple of different songs. This one, I think I've played for you John Denver's You Fill Up My Senses before, but this is a classic of swing genre. So there's still something transgressive about this song, right? This song is written by Cole Porter. The lyrics are by Cole Porter. The transgressive part is he goes on, he says, I'd sacrifice anything, come what might, for the sake of having you near, in spite of a warning voice that comes in the night and repeats in my ear, don't you know, little fool, you never can win. Come on, now, use your mentality, wake up to reality, but each time that I do, just the thought of you makes me stop before I begin, because I've got you under my skin. The idea here is not, God, your boobs. Right? That's not the idea, oh, what a nice butt you've got, right? I mean, it's not skin to skin, we can feel each other, right? That's not the idea here. The idea here is that there is a spiritual drive, there's an emotional drive between man and woman, and sex is the natural culmination of that, and that doesn't necessarily mean that every relationship is a good idea, but without that drive, without the emotional connection, without the spiritual connection between man and woman, everything just degrades to the level of a woman making love to a camera sitting on a bed wearing lingerie. It just turns into softcore pornography. That's all it does. The difference between romance and softcore pornography is the emotional connection and the spiritual connection between two people that leads to the act of sex. When you strip all of the emotion away, and when you say that true liberation lies in treating sex just like any other bodily function, you end